Hey guys, welcome back to another video in this chess channel. In today's chess video, I'm going to be talking about an opening. This is perhaps the most basic opening. It's called the Four Knights opening, and you'll probably see why it's called that later. So let's get into it. So here, it's a normal position. This is because openings they basically open the game, if you think about it that way. Openings, they introduce the pieces to the board. Basically, in openings, you develop your pieces. So then in the middle game, which is basically the middle of the game, you can develop plans to attack the enemy king. And in the end game, that's basically where all the checkmates will happen. So here, basically the Four Knights opening will start off with e4. Black will then play e5. Now white plays knight f3. This first of all attacks the pawn on e5, and second of all, it develops another piece. Instead of playing d4 to attack the pawn, it develops a piece. So there's also something that you should keep in mind. This opening, it uses the fact that knights are slower than bishops in terms of developing. Like bishops, they could go all the way out. Knights, they take a limited number of steps per move. So people would usually say that knights they should be developed first because they are slower. Then the bishops come out. So back to the opening, the knight on f3 is attacking the pawn on e5. So now knight c6. That knight, of course, defends the pawn. Now knight c3, and then knight f6. Now you see here that there are four knights, and so that's why it's called the Four Knights opening. Also, this is basically the opening. No other moves are included, but you could then develop attacks with this opening. So, for example, perhaps white would want to move his bishop and develop to attack the f7 square. Remember, this is not part of the opening itself, but it's in fact part of just the middle game, I guess, following the opening. So let's say the bishop then goes here and decides to attack the knight. Now see here, black attacks the knight. This is something that most people would use. So black attacks the knight, and if you play a3 to get rid of the bishop, then the bishop will just take the knight. You will take the bishop, and that knight would take the pawn. So I would say it's a good trap. You gain a pawn, but it depends on how you see point count. Point count is ranking each piece. So here, a bishop, some people say it's 3.5 points. Some people just say it's 3. A knight, all people think it's 3. But it depends on the situation. Here, there's plenty of open diagonals, but there is just enough barricades for knights to jump over. So I would say yes, black does gain a bit by taking this knight and then afterwards taking the pawn. Because then white is left with only one pawn left to attack the center, while black has two pawns on his side to attack the center. So the center is basically what openings attack at. If you aim at the center, then you basically control the whole board. Basically think of like territory gain. Your pawns, usually most openings, I could only name a few that do not use pawns to attack the center, like the ready opening. So anyways, the pawns usually attack the center, and that helps that side gain more territory. You could also play for king side expansion. Basically, you gain more space on the king side. The king side is basically the E to H files. The queen side is A to D files. So queen side expansion is obviously just pushing the pawns on the queen side. And that's something you want to keep in mind, but in the openings, they usually aim at the center. The center is what splits the board. The center splits the board in half, and so if your pieces are in the center and your opponent is playing on the wings, like the queen side or the king side, then your pieces can easily move to that side. But if you're on only one side of the board and your opponent attacks the other side of the board, it's going to be kind of hard to then come over to that other side of the board and defend it. So the center is perhaps the most important. So that will be about it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did, leave a like, subscribe, and click that notifications bell so you never miss another video.